Hello and welcome to my 2023 end of year WIP parade. If you are new here, my name is Erin. I am the Two Martini Stitcher, both here on YouTube and on Instagram. And this is my channel where I talk about cross stitch and occasionally a little bit of knitting, but today is going to be just cross stitch. My pronouns are she, her, and we're gonna have some fun today. It's probably going to be a pretty long one, so you might want to get a beverage. I have some water. Gotta stay hydrated. And I am going to be going through all of my WIPs, of which I believe I have 67. I'm pretty sure that's the number. I probably should have double checked before I started, but I'm pretty sure it's 67. And I will be going through all of them one by one. And I believe that as I go through, there's a few that in the back of my mind might be a restart or a UFO. So we'll see where we land at the end. When we get to the end, I will put the number that we land on up on the screen. And that number is important only because it matters not at all how many WIPs you have. I have a lot. Some people have a few. I say do whatever is comfortable for you. But that number is important this year because I have some goals and plans that we should talk about real quick here at the top because it's going to be relevant as we go through my WIPs. So I believe I have 67 right now, and I turned 50 in March of 2025. So in the next year, during 2024, my goal, completely arbitrary, made up by me just for fun, is to get under 50 WIPs. So by January 1, 2025, I would like to be under 50 WIPs as I start the year of my 50th birthday. And then during 2025, I plan to start 100 projects. That's more to come as we start planning and kitting up next year. But just know that is why I am trying to WIP down next year to under 50 WIPs. So I think I'm going to need, I have 2 starts planned. I think that there's a few I'm going to UFO. So I think I'm going to need around 17 or 18 finishes next year. Being 24, and a lot of people are doing 24 and 24, either 24 WIPs or 24. A lot of people are doing 24 starts. I am going to be doing 24 finishes in 2024. So I have targeted already actually about 27 different WIPs. I do a 25/7 project that I work on one project every day for the first little bit. The first little bit I stitch. I'm not so much for sticking directly to rules. So it's either a strand or I work on it at least 25 minutes, sometimes 40 if I'm finishing out, a strand of floss or something. But I do have a project always that I am working on that way until it's done. So I have projects that I have targeted for finishes next year, and I have assigned those projects all a month. So I need about 2 finishes a month. No, I need on average 2 finishes a month to do 24 finishes in 2024. So I've assigned at least 2 WIPs that I have targeted to finish next year a month. So as I'm going through my WIP parade, I will be telling you if the WIP is one that I have targeted to finish next year, and if so, what month I have assigned it. Did that make sense? That felt a little rambly, but I thought it would be fun to just kind of include those plans because that's the bulk of my stitching plans next year. Is 24/7 pieces and 2 finishes a month. That I'm going to have 2 pieces I'm focusing on to finish each month. And that's it. That's like the entirety of my plans for next year as I try to get under 50 WIPs by the beginning of 2025. All right, so are we ready? I'm going to be going through all of these by start date, starting with my oldest. I will do my best to remember to tell you what fabric count is, what floss, how I'm stitching it, all the things. If I forget something or omit something, I will have a link to my WIP spreadsheet in the description box below. Occasionally that link like breaks in the upload to YouTube. So if for some reason you go to use it and it's not working, just stick a note in the comments and I'll get you a link if you need it to my WIP spreadsheet, which I have like printed out. I'm going to need my glasses to read. Ooh, the joys of being almost 50, right? Okay. So let's go ahead and get started, shall we? My oldest WIP, currently my oldest WIP, if you follow me, you know that I just recently finished my oldest WIP. So now I have a new oldest WIP, and that is Knee High by Hands On Design. Oh, also a warning, there's going to be unzipping and zipping. 67 WIPs. I didn't have the time today to take everything out. Nothing is ironed. This is rough and ready. This is a rough and ready WIP parade. So, all right. So, well, that's not it. I'm off to a great start, aren't I? Here it is. Knee High by Hands On Design. So here we go. And I started this in June of 2019. I am stitching it on an 18 count Aida that I tea coffee dyed myself. It was just some basic white Aida. I am stitching it with called for flosses, but I subbed out guacamole for corn husk because I think at the time I just didn't have it. Now I have like a huge floss collection. When I first started, I tended to kit stuff up, and my guess is that guacamole wasn't available then. So this is where I am. This is where I am on this. And I had been using this as like, I would stitch on this when I went to visit family in the Midwest, which then once 2020 hit, wasn't a whole lot of traveling to visit family. So it has lingered a little bit. And this is one that I plan to finish next year in July because, you know, pretty literal. Yeah, by the 4th of July, we're going to target to finish this one in July. All right, so that is the first one. My next WIP is also by Hands On Design, and this is Meow Block. It's one of her block parties, and I did purchase the pins. I think they all come with the felt. I am stitching this on a 32 count linen in flax with all the called for flosses. Pretty sure I kitted this all up on my very first visit to Acorns and Threads back in 2019. So this is where I am on this. This is a cute design. I plan to, when I eventually finish this, to give it to my daughter Sarah, who loves cats, has our black cat Leo living with her now. She took him with her when she moved out, but this is where I am. Not that far, and I like this piece. I will definitely finish it at some point and give it to my daughter, but I'm not in a huge rush to have this finished. So this is not on my list to be finished next year. Okay, next up, oh, I'm already like in, oh, I have a very big heavy tote sitting on a chair and I'm already in danger of having it tip over. Okay. Next up is Game of Swans by Long Dog Samplers. This is the very first Long Dog I ever started, and I started this in August of 2019. I am stitching this on 36 count Silvery Moon with all the called for Gentle Arts flosses, and this is where I am. That's kind of sad. I do love this piece. I think I subbed, I don't think it calls for the sparkly Krynick in the crown, but I felt like a crown should be sparkly. So that's where I am. Eventually someday, this is not on my list for next year, but eventually someday this will become a 25/7 piece and I will just pick away at it until it's done. but I really like it. And one day it will be done. All right, up next is Martini Witches by Prairie Moon. And I am stitching this on 32 count Stormy Night Belfast linen with all the called for silks. So I bought all the called for silks. This felt like I was gifted this chart before Prairie Moon started reselling their charts as PDFs. So it felt like such a special chart that I should kit it up in the silks. I'm stitching it 2/2 on this Belfast linen, and this is where I am. So I've got one witch with her martini all done, and this is one of the projects that I plan to finish next year, and I have this slated, of course, for October. I started it in October of 2019, and so I have it slated for October of this year. It's time. You know, I'm easily distracted, but you know, I've been very focused the back half of this year, and I'm just really hoping that I can keep that going next year and stay focused and knock out some of these that have just been lingering for no reason other than there's lots of fun things to start and I got distracted. Okay. Next up is, find it in here, Dog's Declaration by Ink Circles. This is amazing. Love this piece. And I started this right after, when did I start this? November. So I started this just a couple months in 2019 after we had adopted our dog Happy. It is his life's mission. He believes it is his life's mission to keep our backyard free of wildlife, including bears. I am stitching this on 36 count linen in bisque by Lakeside Linen. 1/2, one thread, one strand of floss over 2 linen threads with all the called for Valdanis. And this is where I am. I love this piece so much. I love the colors. I converted this little dog, the very first one I stitched, to look like our Happy guy. He's a little short dog who always has one ear up and one ear down and a little curved tail. So that's Happy. I love this piece. It's beautiful. It is very large. And someday I will finish it, but it won't be next year. So that is Dog's Declaration. Oh, I missed one. That's fine. It doesn't necessarily need to be exactly in order. We're close, right? This one is Holly and Hearts by Lizzie Kate. This was a mystery stitch along many years ago, I believe, because I purchased this, I believe, from Stash Unload back in 2019, and with everything. Is that right? I'm pretty sure that's correct. It was all 3 patterns, all the floss, fabric, little charm, the whole 9 yards. So this is all called for, which I think is a picture of this plus linen. Does it say? No, it just says called for fabric. Yeah, it's a picture of this plus linen. I'm stitching it 2/2. And this is how far I am. I think this is this the whole first part? It looks like maybe not. I think maybe I just need to bring the border down a little bit. I don't know. I really like that. However, I'm not the biggest Christmas stitcher. I tend to stitch in season, and so Christmas is a shorter season to be stitching in. I have trouble stitching off season, so you'll kind of notice that the pieces that I have slated for finish next year, they're assigned a month that's kind of in their season, like Martini Witches being in October. So I really like that piece, definitely keeping it, but it's not slated for a finish next year either, which means it's gonna be a while. That's all right. They'll be there waiting for me when I get to them. Next up is Emily's House by Lindy Stitches. And I am stitching this on a 36 count linen in Drapple Brown by Extra Designs with all the called for flosses. I believe I bought this with the bag and the chart and the flosses from Lindy Stitches when it was released. And I love, pardon me, I love this piece. This will definitely be a 25/7 piece at some point. Because I have the whole border in. Well, I have the vine of the border in. And I've kind of just started outlining and filling in the house. So this is a fantastic piece. I love this very, very much. So at some point, I even know where I would hang this in my house when it's done. It'll be like right over there. But yet I've had that WIP since 2019. I've not finished it. Okay, and this is my final 2019 project. Final project I started in 2019, and that is Peace on Earth by Cottage Garden Samplings. This is on a 36 count linen in Fog Lifter blend by R&R. And I think I'm doing this in called for flosses, except I'm using Anchor Black instead of the licorice. And this piece has been on a journey with the white stitching. So here it is. It's 1/2 on this 36 count. And I started up here with Sulky, but I don't know, for whatever reason, I didn't love it. And you can see the white in person. It's not showing up great with my ring light, I'm not sure. So I wasn't sure that I love that. So then starting down here, I switched to, I'm not sure what. I think it's an over dyed white, which is the called for chalk. And I'm doubling the top leg, and that's showing up better. But I think I started with just one, and then I decided to double up the top leg, and so I had to go back. Anyhow, this is slated for a finish in 2024 and is assigned January. So I'm going to be starting working on this very, very soon. I think I tend to stall on this because this white down here is, you know, not the most fun to stitch. I really enjoyed stitching the house. So I think I'm going to come over here and work on the bird and pine cone and do a strand up here and then a strand of white and then a strand of really fun bird and a strand of white. And hopefully that'll just get this chugging along, because I think if I focus on this, it's not going to take that long. So I'm hoping maybe just a couple weeks. When I was choosing the projects to target for 2024, since I need 2 a month, I was kind of looking at ones that I thought 2 weeks would finish them up. I, however, am frequently very optimistic about how long things will take. So this hopefully will be finished in January and is the last of my 2019 WIP. So that's everything that I still have on the go from 2019. Yeah, that's a while ago. It's all right. Okay, so now we're moving into 2020. Projects that I started in 2020, and my New Year, New Start that year was my one and only Paid Farewell to Anger. It's been so long that like my lamination is starting to fade. This is just the regular size chart with the regular color. So it's not a mini, it's not a max color. This is just the standard format chart with the normal 89 colors. I went ahead and took this off the Q-Snap. This has not gotten a lot of love this year. I started at the very beginning of the year working on this every single weekend, and I should have looked and seen what percentage I'm at. I will put it here. I'll put down here where I am, how many stitches, and what percentage I am at. But then by the middle of the year, I realized that I needed to start focusing on finishes, and I haven't worked on this in a little while, and I have no plans to work on this in 2024, which does hurt my heart a little bit, but that's how it is. So I went ahead and took it off the Q-snap since I don't plan to be working on it in the foreseeable future, so you could see the whole thing. So this is where I am at. And by now you will know how far this is. I work in diagonals. I tend to cross country through a diagonal. So, but this is where I work on this in an 11 by 11 Q-snap. So you can see this is where, like, that's all the further I could go in the Q-snap. But there we are. That's Farewell to Anger. I love it so much, but look, so much more to go. But I do love this piece. And I think in 2025, I'm going to be working on this in amongst my starts, and then it will be probably a focus piece in 26. And don't you love that for us cross stitchers? That's just a normal thing to say. I plan to focus on that in 2026. There's Farewell to Anger. All right. My next one was a start for my birthday. This is a birthday start. I'm a March baby in 2020, and I started Duke Clover by Owl Forest Embroidery. You can see I bought the whole kit. I just cut this out so I would have the cover image. And so I'm using everything in the kit except for the fabric. I did switch out the fabric just because it was tighter margins than I really felt comfortable with. And so I put on just a 32 count platinum linen, which is very similar to what came with it, but it is all the Owl Forest Embroidery flosses. And this is where I am. So I'm, over halfway. Maybe not by a lot, but I'm over halfway, and this is slated for a finish in March of 2024. So I plan to finish this up in March, and I think I should be able to do that. There's a whole bunch of lazy daisies down here that I might have to practice my lazy daisies. Sometimes they don't come out so good, but that will be a finish in 2024. Love it. Okay. Then I started a lot of projects in 2020, as I feel we all did. We were all at home. What else were we going to do but start a whole bunch of projects? So I started Seeking Refuge by the Scarlet House. And this one, I love this piece. It's on 36 count linen in Stars Hollow by R&R. I'm stitching this with all the called for, except I'm using Anchor Black. I think it calls for 310, DMC 310. And this is where I am on this. I finished, like, these 2 pages are done, and I've been working in the house. I love building a house so much, and I love this piece, but there's too much left for me to reasonably think I will finish this next year. So it might look like exactly like this when we do the WIP parade again next December. But I think that these larger samplers are the ones that are always going to be my 25/7 piece. I finished my anniversary piece, which was Lindy Stitches Stars Bright, that way this year. I also finished Cardinal Points that way this year. You'll see my current 25/7 piece in a little bit. So I think as I finish one, I'm just going to pick up another bigger sampler and do them that way. So they don't stress me out. It doesn't stress me out having those bigger samplers. Okay, next up is The Light by Barbara Anna. I believe that this was a freebie. I think that she put this out as a freebie. I don't know if it still is. And this is on a mystery linen, a 36 count mystery linen. I think it might be a Victorian motto, but I don't know why I think that. And I'm stitching this with the called for DMC, probably 1 strand. Yep. One strand of floss over 2 linen threads. That's typically my go-to. So if I mention that it's a 32 count linen, there may be one that's not 1 strand of floss over 2 linen threads, but in general, that is my comfort stitching. That's my sweet spot, is 36 1/2, which I know is maybe a little unusual, but there we are. So this is the light. I've got a good start on this. I mean, like, I have, you know, some more of the arch and her big dress, but I think that's reasonable. And I have this slated for a finish in April of this coming year. So there we go. Maybe because I started in April. Yep. I started in April of 2020. So I've stuck this into April for this year, and I should be able to get that done. Yeah. No sweat. No. No sweat. I know some of my friends are probably giggling at me right now because I say things like that all the time. And then there is sweat. Okay. Next is a piece that I knew I wanted to stitch sometime before I died, and so I decided to just start it. And that's Anaphora screw. Nothing like starting, you know, huge projects just because. I actually started this on Arbor Day in 2020. This is on a 36 count linen in soft ivory. I think this is like just a Zweigart color, soft ivory. And of course I'm using all the called for DMCs, and this is where I am. That's fairly sad and pathetic. Given how large this piece is, that's all I've done. I mean, it's not terrible. Every single one of these little trees is so fun to stitch. They're so fun. And eventually this will be a focus piece and I will finish it. But it will not be in 2024. Oh well. It will be someday. And I plan to put something else, a different quote in the middle, but I have no idea what. I'll figure it out when I get there. Don't need to worry about it anytime soon. That's for sure. All right. And then we get into May of 2020, which was the very first time that I participated in like Stitch Mayhem, where you start a whole bunch of things in May. Seemed like a great idea. And the first thing I started was Metamorphosis by Ink Circles. And this, like, I feel like I restarted at least once, but I've settled on this iteration of it, and it is fantastic. It's on a 32 count linen by Stitch Me, and it doesn't have a name. It was probably in a Friday night fight night fabric, so it doesn't have a name. And I am stitching it with this absolutely beautiful fade of silks that were gifted to me by a lovely friend, and I'll show you where I am on it. There I am. So that's 3 out of, I think there's 7. So 3 out of 7. So I'm almost halfway on this piece. And honestly, each of these motifs is just a couple days of stitching. Why is this still hanging around? Don't know. But look how beautiful it is. It's absolutely beautiful. So this is one of the pieces I plan to finish next year. And I'm going to be working on this in May. So that's going to be a finish in May. You like how I just say that? It's a fact. Facts. Okay. So there's going to be a whole bunch of these May starts. Okay, this one, let's see. In my head, this might be a UFO. Summer at Cherry Hill. We have a cherry tree in our yard. Frequently, most years, the birds eat the cherries before we can pick them. They just know. They know when they're ripe, and they tend to ripen a lot of times when we're out of town in the summer. So I love this piece. I love this piece, and it may end up being like a restart if I do UFO it, but let's look at it. I am stitching this on a 32 count linen in Cherry Pit Brown, which is a departure from the cover photo. And so I changed from that chili pepper red to, I think this is Briar Rose, which I love. I love everything about this, except I'm not sure that I love the called for greens on this fabric. That's the only thing I'm not sure about. And I'm not that far. I mean, I am, but I'm not. I could maybe, I don't know. Tell me what you think. I can maybe pick out those leaves. What do we think about these browns and greens on the fabric? Do I need different tones of greens? Do they look good? I'm putting this in the maybe pile. I like it a lot. I love the chart. I'm just not sure. And it's a lot of that color of green down at the bottom. Should I change it out? I think I'm going to UFO this. As much as I love this chart, I think that I might UFO this. It's just a lot of stitching, and I'm just not sure I love it enough. Give me your thoughts. Give me your thoughts, but this is going in the maybe pile. This might be going away. Here are all the colors for reference. Here are all the colors, and it's these really olivey colors that I feel like I'm a much more experienced stitcher now, that I'm just not sure these olivey colors work on that cherry pit brown. And I think I could find different greens. I love this fabric for it, to be honest. And I love this, I'm pretty sure it's Briar Rose. Yep. And I love the Briar Rose as the sub for chili pepper. But I just think that I probably should have switched out some of these other greens for just different tones that maybe work better on the fabric. Give me your thoughts. Give me your thoughts, and I am going to put this over in the may not return pile. Okay. Next is Cross Stitch Nation by Heartstring Samplery. And this is what it looks like. Lots of people stitched this many years ago, and I'm still working on it. And this is on a 32 count mystery even weave. I got this off Stash Unload. There was no tag on it. It could have been like hand dyed by somebody. I think I stitched something else on it over here. So here's where I am. So I have one person and my initials in. I've got a long way to go. And I love this piece. I'm going to keep it. For sure keeping it, but it's not slated for a finish next year, and it will get done when it gets done. But I like it very, very much. And I think I'm stitching this with called for. Let's see. Yep, called for flosses, although I am going to switch up some of the skin tones. So there are all the called for flosses in with Cross Stitch Nation. All right. Next up is, I gotta find the cover photo. Welcome Foolish Mortals by the Witchy Stitcher. I love this so much. I love this so much. I am stitching this on the called for fabric, which is Phantom by Picture This Plus, and I'm stitching it on a 16 count Aida with DMC Black Etoile. So it's, I don't know if you're going to be able to see. Oh, I think maybe you can. It's kind of sparkly. And as you can see, I'm getting pretty close to having the big motif up top done. Do I have it all done? Oh, I think I have everything over on this side. Yeah, I'm getting very close to having this big motif done, and then it'll be just the words, Welcome Foolish Mortal, and that will be pretty easy counting stitching. Why did I put it on the fabric like this? I don't know. I know that I had a reason at the time. I know for sure I had a reason at the time that I stuck it on here like this, but couldn't tell you what it is now. Past me, should have left myself a little note. But I think that this is finishable, and so I have it slated for a finish in October. So this one and Martini Witches in October. Feels like maybe a little bit of a stretch, but We'll see. I think it can happen. All right. Next up is a big one that I absolutely plan to finish next year. And that is the 2018 set of Fragments in Time by Summerhouse Stitchworks. I am stitching this with the called for flosses on a 32 count linen in Stars Hollow. So I'm stitching this 2 over 2, and I'm doing it all together, all of them all together on one piece of fabric with the complementary border. So each year for the Fragments in Time, Bastille does a complementary border. So it's a free one. You can download it on her website for each year so that you can stitch them on one piece. And this is how far I am. So I have 3 of these done. There's 8 of them. Yes, there are 8 of them. This one is done except for the year. Maybe that should be my first stitches I put on this is put in 2024. And then I have to make it happen. So this one, I'm not going to lie, this is a stretch for me to get done, but I really want to finish this because I want to start another set of them in 2025. And it feels like I need to finish one before I start another one. So I have this slated for August. And if I don't get it finished in August, then I'll probably make it my 25/7 stitch and finish it then by the end of the year. So there are a couple sneaky big charts that I have slated for a finish next year, and I think we're gonna make it work. We're gonna make it work. This one is also on the docket for finishing next year. I have this slated for July, and it's Weatherwise. I'm doing this one up here. This is Weatherwise by Prairie Schooler. I am stitching this on a 32 count Lugana in Vintage Stormy Night. Vintage Stormy Night, yes. And I am stitching this 2 over 2. And I am not using called for colors. I am using Helen D's. She stitched this. I think she finished it in 2019. And she had done a color conversion. It's on her Instagram somewhere if you want to go find it, but these are the colors. These are the colors, and I saved her picture and her color conversion when she posted it, and I just kind of refer to it to see where I think she put what colors, because I loved it so much because she's so brilliant. So that's where I am, and this is totally finishable. So I have this slated for July, to finish in July. Love that. I don't have that many Prairie Schoolers as WIPs. That might be the only one. I should rectify that in 2025. All right, next is a Stitch for Sweet Freedom, and I started this for Juneteenth that year, and I've stitched on it every year at least on Juneteenth. I feel like it must have gotten some more love somewhere along the line because I have a decent amount done. This is 32 count linen in Vintage Gray by R&R, and I'm using I'm pretty sure all the called for flosses. The yellow I might have subbed out for a color and cotton because I didn't have it. So there I am. And I'm just kind of starting on our big dress. And I love this piece. I love this piece. Love that I have a needle minder and then a needle stuck up in the linen. Chaos. It's chaos here. I really like this piece. Definitely keeping it. I don't have it slated for a finish just because I do think that dress is going to be it's going to take a little while. It's going to take a little while. So that's not slated for a finish next year, but I love it, so we're keeping it. All right. Next is another kind of larger piece that I plan to finish next year. And not only that, I plan to finish it in January. And that is Sing a Sampler by Silver Creek Samplers. I'm trying to find all the patterns because it is a set of patterns. Are there 4 of them? 3 of them? 4 of them. There's 4 patterns. Here they are. So there's two per pattern. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. And it's the song from Sound of Music, which I love that movie. I've loved that movie since I was a kid. I would always watch it with my grandmother. And so I'm doing this all as one piece, 4 and 4. I think they have it charted as one long piece, and I am doing a complete color conversion that was inspired by Jan Hicks of Jan Hicks Creates. You can find her color conversion on her website, which I will put a link down for below. And this is where I am. So I'm halfway. Isn't this amazing? Oh, I love this color conversion so much. So I am halfway done. And each of these blocks takes maybe 3 days if I really sit down and focus on it. So we're talking like 12 days plus the words. It's going to maybe be a push, but I really want to get this done in January. And so this is on, what do I have this on? This is 32 count linen in Vintage Stormy Night. I'm stitching it 2/2 with just a bunch of, I used Jan's color conversion just as a jumping off point. So these are the main colors I'm using for the frames and the words. And I might, do I have it all written down? Let me look. No, I don't even have anything in my spreadsheet. Good luck, God bless. If you want, if you really want to know exactly what colors I'm using, shoot me a comment and I will let you know which ones I'm using for the frame and the words. Although I will tell you the words is a silk, color and cotton silk that was, it came in like a box or something and has no name. So that's the other thing, is I don't think that you could hardly even replicate this. I think some of these are like no name. And then for inside each block, I'm literally just pulling colors from my stash that I think work. I know, what a mess, but it is what it is. So Sing a Sampler is going to be finished in January, and I'm going to get it framed. I'm very excited. Very excited. So, you know, tune back in January for regular updates to see how that goes. All right. Next is Tree of Magic. This was the chart is by Barbara Anna. It was a kit from Nika Moscow. This is what it looks like. I think I had to print this off of maybe an Instagram post. So that's Tree of Magic. So I am using just everything that came in the kit. It's all DMC, but it came all carded up. And this is where I am on Tree of Magic. And I don't have this slated for a finish, which I'm now kind of sad about. I might have to see if I can fit this in somewhere next year because I love this. And look, I only have like 2.5 more shelves to go. Now, do they get progressively bigger? Yes, they do. Which is probably why I didn't put it in there. But here I am now, looking into the beginning of 2024, thinking that I can finish all the things. What are you going to do about it? Okay. Next up is one that in my head, I think might be a restart during 2025. I really love this piece. It's Stitches Through the Years Like a Cherry Blossom. I love this piece. I love the sing, the house, everything about it. I have this on a 36 count linen in seashell from XJU Designs. And while I really like this fabric, there is on it, I'm still not that far. I think I still might restart it. You might be able to see on this fabric, there is a light like fade spot in the middle. And I don't know, it's always been there. And I thought when I picked the fabric, because it's this beautiful, like super light lavender, which means it's really delicate on here. I thought, well, the house might be there, or I just thought the stitching would cover it up and it would be fine. But I think that's what's keeping me from stitching on it. And I was kitting up another project the other day, and going through my fabrics, I found a fabric that I think would be perfect for this. Would be a little bit darker, so I think the flosses would pop. And I think that this light spot in the middle that may end up bothering me, I just worry that it's going to bother me. I think I need to maybe just use the other half of this fabric for something that's not going to use this. So I think I'm not that far in it. I'm not that far in it. I think this is going to be a restart. We're going to restart this. I'm using, I think it was mostly called for flosses. I maybe made a couple substitutions. But we're going to kit this back up with a different fabric and restart it in 2025. So I saw that fabric as I was going through my fabric stash and thought that would be perfect for like a cherry blossom, and I think everything might show up better, but I couldn't quite remember how far I was into that piece. But I feel okay restarting that. Okay, so that goes over into the maybe pile, but is a definite UFO/restart. All right, look at that. One WIP down already. Okay, next up is Quaker Genetics by Ink Circles. It's a Punnett square. Tracy is such a genius. She's such a genius. I was a bio major in college, and I love genetics. Some of my favorite classes. So this was a no-brainer for me to stitch. It is on a 36 count linen in Coffee Club by Bestitch Me. And I think that this is mostly called for, except for the little doodads in the middle, I switched out. It was supposed to be, let me see, does it say? It was supposed to be Otter Creek, and I switched it out for this green color and cotton. So this is where I am so far. And I do have this slated for a finish in September. However, to be honest, because these are all the same, well, I mean, they're not all the same. There's clearly variations, but they're very similar. I may try, even though I have this slated for a finish in September, I may try to stitch like one of these a month. How many more do I have to do? I have 4 and then some started. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Yep. I may try to just stitch one of these a month, and we'll see how that goes. That may be how I do that. I might stitch one of these little medallions a month before I start the rest of my projects. And then, even though I have this slated for a September finish, because I started this in September, it was kind of like a back to school start, felt appropriate. So that is Quaker Genetics, which will get finished this coming year. And then who knows, I may give that to my middle daughter. She's also a bio major, and she really enjoyed her genetics classes. We'll see. Maybe eventually if she wants it, I'll give it to her. All right, next up is my one and only Mirabilia that I have going, Touching the Autumn Sky. And this is also slated for a finish next year and is a stretch. But I really do want to finish this, not only because it is a pretty rare out of print chart, and I feel like I mean, it's not in pristine condition. This was gifted to me. But I still feel like this could be auctioned off for charity or something. So I would like to finish it. Also, I would like to finish it because I would like to start another Mirabilia in 2025. And for some reason, it just feels like I can only do one at a time. I don't know why. Just does. Here is where I am on Touching the Autumn Sky. You've seen this recently because I stitched on this for my friend Sarah's birthday at the beginning of the month. But there it is. So there is still quite a bit more stitching to do, but I am going to try really hard to jump on Pam Stitching the Land of Good Enough. She does a fancy folk Zoom each month, and I'm going to try really hard to jump on those and chip away at her this coming year. And then I have her slated for a finish in November. So she's another larger piece that I just decided I was going to finish next year. Wish me luck. There's not a ton of beads though. There's only one color of beads, and I should be able to do it. Stay positive. Okay. Oh, I love this one. This is the really fun thing about WIP parades too, is that I just get to see all the pieces again. This is Blue Flower, the color of winter. Oof, love this piece. Love it so much. I know I did work on this year. This is on a 36 count linen in Chantilly Cream by Lakeside Linen with all, I think mostly called for floss. I definitely would have I think I subbed out a couple. I think I subbed out a couple flosses. It'll be on my WIP spreadsheet. And here's where I am. I think that this is a full page finish. I'm pretty sure the last time I touched this, I think I'm into the well into the second page, because I think this is the bottom. I think this is where that pot starts. So I have a good amount done on this, but it's fairly large. So this is not slated for finish next year. I love this linen though. Chantilly Cream. It's got kind of a peachy pinkish hue to it that is just gorgeous. And Janine McGowan's charts are so beautiful. The flowers and the trees and her colors, always so good. I love her charts. And this is, I love the saying on this. The color of springtime is in the flowers, the color of winter is in the imagination. That is definitely true. That is definitely true. Especially in the long winter, the big dark, the long dark this time of year. Okay, on the next page. And the last one in this tote. So I'm probably going to take a minute to reset everything. Won't feel that long for you, but we are getting there. We're in October. I started this in October of 2020. And this is What a Time to Be Alive by Heartstring Samplery. And this used to be an exclusive to Acorns and Threads, and it might still be. I know you can get it there. I don't know if you can get it everywhere, but this is what it looks like. It's actually charted with different colors, like to be multicolored in the chart, but then when Beth stitched it, she just stitched it monochromatic. So you can do it either way. I'm stitching this on a 36 count linen in Boot Camp by Bestitch Me. And I am stitching it with, I'm doing all the motifs in this variegated silk by Brandy Autumn by Bestitch Me called Autumn. And then I'm going to do the words in Mrs. Sadis number 7. So I'll show you where I am. So this is where I am. And I think, yes. So I have the top set of pots done. And then the words are going to go here. And then there's the bottom set of pots. I love this so much. This is so pretty. This I do have plan to finish next year in April. So this will be a finish in April. Fantastic chart. And this boot camp is really, really green. I have another chart on boot camp that is a totally different color than this. I'm not sure which one is like, will the real boot camp please step forward? I feel like it's not this green, to be honest. If you were to order a piece of boot camp from Stitch Me, but this is what mine looks like, or this particular piece. And I think it looks fantastic. Excited to have that finished. And then I don't know. I feel like I would maybe like to have that finished into a needle roll or something. I don't know. Or maybe I just frame it. Who knows? Okay, I am going to pause and throw all those projects into this tote and grab the other one, and I will be right back.